In the past few days, we have seen the release of thousands of documents from the Epstein files. Something shocking that many major news outlets are failing to mention is in regard to a particular email in which FBI agents are talking to each other about one of the victims and what he witnessed. Most of these statements are too explicit to discuss on YouTube. However, it relates to ritualistic acts of taking the lives of newborn babies and doing unimaginable things with the bodies. The people involved in these acts are among some of the most powerful elites in the world. What would possess them to do such sickening acts? This disgusting ritual actually goes back thousands of years and is even mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. We also hear about similar acts taking place in Bohemian Grove, where elites would gather in the forest and worship a deity known as Moloch, often depicted as an owl or bull. What many would just laugh off as conspiracy theories just a couple of years ago is now appearing to actually be the truth. Moloch, also rendered Molech, is a figure associated primarily with the ancient Near East, especially in the religious world of the Canaanites, Ammonites, and surrounding cultures. His name appears in the Hebrew Bible in connection with practices that were explicitly condemned, most notably child sacrifice. In texts such as Leviticus and Jeremiah, the Israelites are warned not to pass their children through the fire to Moloch, a phrase widely interpreted by scholars as ritual sacrifice. Over the past few decades, allegations have circulated claiming that certain global elites engage in occult rituals, sometimes explicitly linked to Moloch or similar entities. These claims usually arise from a mixture of whistleblower testimonies, leaked documents, survivor accounts of abuse, and symbolic imagery used by powerful institutions. There is documented evidence of elite abuse and trafficking, as shown by cases involving Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile, and others. Epstein's crimes demonstrated that power, wealth, and networks can shield horrific abuse, reinforcing public suspicion. When people see repeated cases where victims are silenced and perpetrators protected, symbolic explanations take root. Jeffrey Epstein's private island, Little St. James, became the center of intense speculation after aerial photos revealed a large blue and white temple-like structure. Social media users quickly labeled it a temple of Moloch, drawing comparisons to artistic depictions of Moloch as an idol with outstretched arms. Journalists and investigators have described the building as decorative or symbolic, with Epstein reportedly enjoying provocative aesthetics and mythology. Still, the secrecy surrounding the island, combined with Epstein's proven criminal behavior, made it a powerful focal point for speculation. Epstein was even gifted pieces of the Kaaba's kiswa, which contains Quranic verses on it. What did he want with it? We know from his emails that he had receipts of purchases he made of books about magic and the ancient Jewish mystical tradition known as Kabbalah, which in it contains black magic. He may have even performed desecration rituals, which is where you take something pure and holy and do nasty things to it to please the shayateen. The kiswa is the cloth that is wrapped around the Kaaba, the holiest place for Muslims. Only Allah knows what this sick individual did or planned to do with the kiswa. Moloch persists in modern accusations because he perfectly captures a moral horror that feels timeless. Even if no rituals occur, the outcome resembles ancient sacrifice. Children harmed, innocents destroyed, lives offered up to preserve wealth, secrecy, and influence. From an Islamic standpoint, the figure of Moloch fits squarely within the Quranic concept of tagut, false gods. Anything that is worshipped, obeyed, or feared in place of Allah. Islam strongly condemns child harm, secret corruption, elite arrogance, and impunity. Allah says, "Do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Surely killing them is a heinous sin." Quran, Surah Al-Isra, verse 31. While ancient people may have justified sacrifice as divine necessity, Islam rejects this completely. No power, nation, or system can demand innocent blood. Those who exploit children, whether in ritual, trafficking, or institutional abuse, are committing among the gravest sins. Islam also teaches that shaitan does not always appear as open evil, but often disguises corruption as sophistication, secrecy, or special knowledge. This mirrors how elite wrongdoing today is hidden behind philanthropy, prestige, and legal complexity. The allegations surrounding elites and the Epstein files reflect a deep mistrust of power structures that have repeatedly failed to protect the innocent. From an Islamic perspective, whether or not Moloch is literally invoked is secondary. What matters is that children are harmed, justice is obstructed, and arrogance reigns, all of which Islam condemns unequivocally. Islam's response is clear: No god is worthy of worship except Allah, and no system that feeds on injustice can stand forever. The Epstein files contain so much evidence about the heinous acts the elite people in power and those with influence commit. Will we see them brought to justice? Many of those involved have influence over the media and justice system. Much of the files also remain censored, so we can't even begin to imagine what is being hidden from us, when what has been shown is already so sickening. So who did Epstein work for? He would gather powerful individuals who would participate in disgusting acts. They will then be photographed and recorded, sometimes knowingly and other times unknowingly with hidden cameras. Were these individuals bribed in order to do things for Epstein or for those he worked for? How did a former middle-class schoolteacher with fake degrees become a multi-billionaire? How did he really die in prison? The official reports are sketchy to say the least. Was he seen as a liability by those he worked for? He was previously used to doing whatever he wanted with impunity. If we look into his roots and who he was associated with throughout his life, it's obvious who he worked for. Who was his partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell? She's often described as the brains behind the operation. She's the daughter of Robert Maxwell, Czechoslovak-born British media proprietor and politician. Real name, Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hock. Robert Maxwell has been suspected of having ties to multiple intelligence agencies, including the British MI6, the Soviet KGB, and the Israeli Mossad. The British Foreign Office suspected Maxwell of being a secret agent of a foreign government, possibly a double agent or a triple agent, and a thoroughly bad character. Shortly before Maxwell's death, Ari Ben-Menash, a former employee of Israel's Military Intelligence Directorate, approached a number of news organizations in Britain and the US with the allegation that Maxwell and the Daily Mirror's foreign editor, Nicholas Davies, were both long-time agents for Mossad. Ben-Menash also claimed that, in 1986, Maxwell informed the Israeli embassy in London that Mordecai Vanunu revealed information about Israel's nuclear capability to the Sunday Times, then to the Daily Mirror. Vanunu was subsequently kidnapped by Mossad and smuggled to Israel, convicted of treason and imprisoned for 18 years. Robert Maxwell, who died on November 5, 1991, was buried in a high-profile ceremony on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, treated almost as a state funeral. The ceremony, attended by Israeli leaders like President Chaim Herzog and Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, honoured his contributions to Israel despite the controversy surrounding his death and business dealings. So it is quite obvious who Epstein worked for when you see his surroundings. It's also obvious by which government benefited the most by blackmailing those in power when you look at which country can do whatever it wants with impunity.